Our sense of humor is a little off.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
It feels ridiculous.
Well, here's the thing.
Maybe. Sometimes.
Tell me about this. I want to know more.
Oh yeah, no.
Holy cow.
We've had a lot of fun.
In a mood this morning, Catherine?
I guess so.
Spontaneously
that
breaking
just happened. I just broke into song, but luckily the recorder was not turned up.
And a little bit of Mr. Rogers that starts every morning in a peaceful and calm and respectful way.
Right.
That ain't bad.
I mean,
And then we quickly descend into the pit of what children's television is like now. But we start out on a high plane.
That's right. We start with our cardigan and our comfy shoes.
Speaking of children's television, my world has been rocked this week from the knowledge that the guy who was Mr. Carlin on the Bob Newhart show was also the voice of Stu Pickles. Did everybody know this?
Do you not know what you're talking about?
Anybody else besides me old enough to have watched a Bob Newhart show?
I remember.
Way back, the first one where he was
I only
a
watched
psychologist.
the second one where he was in the inn in
Children, what you have missed. Well, he was a psychologist, I think, or a psychiatrist, and he had a patient named Mr. Carlin who was sort of a recurring character and has a very distinctive voice. And that actor died recently, and in reading his obits, I saw that he was also the voice of Stu Pickles on the Rugrats, which...
Oh, the Rugrats. Okay,
I had no idea that it was... And of course, it's one of those things that once somebody says it, it's immediately apparent, right, and you can't not hear it, but it never occurred to me before. So R.I.P. to him for those two iconic characters, one of which I did not know was...
That happened to me this weekend. I was sitting with my back turned to the TV, and I heard this like very, very unique voice on TV, and I'm like, where have I heard that before? Because it wasn't the show that I would normally hear it from. I knew that in the back of my head. And then I had a quick peek, and of course it was one of my favorite characters from Game of Thrones. So, bingo.
Totally different. What was the second context that the voice was coming from? Something without dragons and...
Yeah, it was
terrible violence.
It was like a crime scene show, investigation show, and it was modern day, and he was wearing his cloak, his black cloak.
Very hard to recognize
actors in different contexts. You're like, oh wow, it's like seeing your
so
teacher.
Confusing.
Well, let's jump in. What's that, Nicole?
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to get us started and say welcome to Parenting Roundabout, a weekly podcast about the things that parents are talking about, obsessing about, and complaining about right now. I am Catherine Haleko, and I'm usually very good at identifying voice actors without seeing their face, which is fun to do when you go to watch a kid's movie like Finding Dory, and then you get to pick out who all those people are. Anyway, with me today are Terri Morrow.
Hello. My favorite place to pick out whose voice is commercials.
Oh, yeah.
Car commercials, it seems especially, or, that I know that voice trying to sell me that car.
Right.
Who is that?
And we also have Nicole Eridix.
Hi there.
Game of Thrones fan.
Yay.
So today...
the new season.
Today on the podcast, we're going to talk about kids moving out on their own, discuss how likely we are to take selfies, shout out some stuff we like on the Roundabout Roundup, and we're going to hear an interview with Terri and Robert Rummel-Hudson about going back to school. But before that, well, I guess our what's new with Nicole is really what started our whole topic for today, our moving on out topic.
It is.
So he's moving on out?
He is. Well, he's already moved out, but he's moving out again. So it's kind of a
I did that.
A second level move out. Yeah, and I think I talked about him living away from home a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Some of the risks that his new house host.
Right.
So he came to his senses and realized that the house was probably not the most conducive to a successful academic school year. So he and his girlfriend decided to go and find an apartment on their own. Now
it's a good news, bad news situation for Nicole.
So you just have to trade one set of concerns for another, basically.
It is, exactly. And that's exactly the way it is. When your kids move out, it's never that, relief or that you're still worrying about them and you're still concerned. And so now, of course, I have to quickly switch gears and think of all the advice I can give him about moving out and into an apartment with his girlfriend.
Oh, yeah. And all the advice you need to give her.
Exactly.
Like she needs to work on his table manners with him.
Yes. The expectations you're going to have moving forward.
Right. These are things that you need to continue to guide him with.
Or in other words, your problem now, sweetie.
Yeah, that's right. So, that kind of branched off into our topic today. And, we thought we'd talk about kids moving out and, when that should happen and whether that's even important. Like, do they need to move out? I don't know. People have varying thoughts on this, I know. So Terri, why don't you get started? Maybe tell us about your own moving out experience first.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. I could not wait to move away from home personally. I went away to college, and after a year or two, I stopped coming home in the summer. I had an apartment near campus. And then when I graduated college, I moved to Kansas City, which is halfway across the country from my home. And then I got a little homesick and I went back. I lived at home for a little while, kind of like your son, kind of going in and out. And then I got tired of having the arguments with my mother that I am now having with my daughter. And so I moved out into an apartment in town, and then I moved into the Valley, and then I moved to New Jersey, which is as far away from home as I could get and still be in the same country. So I, was very, as soon as possible opportunity, I felt like the thing to do was to get out of the house. My husband, on the other hand, lived at home until he was 36 and married me. So he seems to have not been harmed by that experience, and in fact saved up a whole ton of money so that we could put a good down payment on a house. So I've sort of seen it both ways, and I think that there's it's everybody. I was happy with the way I did things. He was happy with the way he did things. So I don't think that there's like one right way, but for me. And my mom had done the same thing to her parents, so she could not complain too much. But yeah, I was gone. How about you, Catherine? Did you move out quickly?
Yeah, well, my parents actually moved cross country the summer that I graduated from high school. So I didn't even get a room in the new house, which I like to point out frequently.
Yes.
I like to make sure that everybody knew about that and how I slept on the floor in my sister's room for half a summer.
Oh, same. I have a story like that.
So, I did come back for a few summers but I was pretty much gone, once I went to college. And when I finished college, I wanted to work in magazine publishing, which meant I had to live in New York City, which I was, a little bit apprehensive about.
Yeah.
But I ended up doing it and really liking it, and it worked out. So
that's a good time of your life to have that experience of living in New York City.
Yeah, except for when you're young, but when you also have no money at all.
Yeah, that's true.
When you're an editorial assistant at a magazine.
Oh my. Did you have roommates?
Yes, I did. Yeah. I had my very first year I actually didn't. But then all the rest of the time I did And
you had one of those really huge apartments like they have on Friends, right?
Oh yeah. I had a 5th floor walk up railroad apartment. With an air shaft. Like my bedroom was on an air shaft, so the pigeons, like you would not believe how loud a pigeon could be when you're trying to sleep. That between the pigeons and the fact that somebody else who had a window on that air shaft had a really loud alarm clock and never turned it off. So
The joy.
oh yes, communal living. So Nicole, did you also lose a bedroom in your parents' house? Was that what you were going to say?
Well,
Did they kick you out?
well, when I was 16, I actually left home for a year and did an exchange in Australia.
Oh, wow.
And while I was away, my parents moved across country.
Whoa.
So when I moved back, I had to start at a new high school for my senior year, which really kind of was not cool. But I had a bedroom then, and then I stayed home for 2 more years and went to community college. And then when I transferred to university in the city, which was a couple hours away, I think probably 5 minutes after I left, my mom was packing up my room.
Oh my gosh, you guys. My parents kept my room like a shrine.
And
They kept a room for my sister who never actually lived in that house, but in case she ever visited, they had a room for her.
No, my brother moved into my room and I got moved into the family room.
Oh, wow.
So when I came home in the summer, I had to sleep on the pull-out couch in the family room. So I guess I'm lucky because I had a bed. But
I did eventually get a bed in my parents' house. They put on an addition, and then that freed up a room to become a guest room. So then I would be allowed to stay there.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's because our house was like a 5-bedroom house for 3 people. They could afford to just,
have an extra room.
You have a room for you, a room for you. Anybody passing by, you want a room? We got a room.
So, I mean, I guess we've had our own experiences, and how does that translate into what you want for your kids then? I mean, Terri, you've got 2 older kids.
Yeah.
What's your
I have an ongoing feud with my sister-in-law over this because she is very much of the feeling that kids should move out and is constantly encouraging my kids to do that. And I'm like, with what job that you can get today should these 20-somethings go rent an apartment? Are you kidding me? It's not practical. And I don't think either of them is particularly eager to move out. I'm not eager for them to move out. I guess I'm having a situation that my mother would have liked to have and I wanted no part of, which is for the kids to just live at home. Mm-hmm. So we're going to be, I don't feel it's that important. If they wanted to, I would support it. If they don't, I'm very happy to have them home. And really economically, I just don't see how that could happen. You know, mm-hmm. I think that sometimes people subsidize it, but I don't think it's that important to want to, pay somebody's rent so they can move out of the house. Stay here and donate to the utilities. But so we do have an apartment downstairs. It was a mother-in-law apartment, and it could quite easily be an adult child apartment if they ever wanted a little bit of independence. But so far, we're all just 4 happy adults under one roof most of the time, unless mom's stressed, which is all of the time. Catherine, are you planning what you're going to do with your kids' bedrooms when they finally move out?
Well, I admit to kind of dreaming about that empty nest situation, but mostly because of all the driving I do right now and stuff like hounding people to eat breakfast so they aren't obnoxious. Like it, the whole, well, if they don't feed themselves, natural consequences. Well, the consequence is that I have to live with them being horrible, so I don't like that consequence. So, that kind of stuff I'm not going to miss, but I think I'll miss the kids when they go. I think I would like them to have a college experience that would include some kind of campus living, but if they come back after that, or if they, I don't know, summers and all those things, I think I would be fine with it. I think I would probably enjoy it as long as they make their own breakfast.
If they move away, do you have to go to their houses and do their laundry and order their dishwashers, or will you be able to let go?
I'm going to let that go. It's going to be gone.
Oh, Kathy,
Only my husband will suffer from.
First time you go to visit, it'll be so hard.
yeah.
You're pushing those things together, are you?
Oh.
I have to admit, I mean, initially I was very sad when my son moved out, which was over a year ago now. But we had a brief moment in time recently where, he was not wanting to be in the fraternity house, and then he wanted to move out. This was before he and his girlfriend found an apartment, and he talked about coming to live back home. And my husband and I were kind of a bit, yeah.
Like, well, you got used to.
Yeah, we've gotten used to myself, my husband, and my daughter. And so, and my son, I love him to bits, but, he will also bring with him his 4 guitars and his constant stream of friends come through the house. And, it's just this whole other lifestyle we have to adapt to. So not that I didn't want him home, and I will not say that on podcast, but it would have been an adjustment.
Yes.
To have him back here.
So you're really hoping this relationship lasts, in other words.
Yeah. He's a very adventurous soul, so I don't imagine he'd want to come back home anyway.
So now how about your daughter? Are you feeling quite so optimistic about her heading out, or a little more protective?
No, I'm good. I really want her to have that college life experience, and she's more independent than my son, I would say. So I would encourage her to move if she wants to. If she wants to stay at home, that's fine too. But I want her to at least have a few years living on campus, not the whole time living at home. I want her to have that transition period of being on campus and then being on her own eventually. So, but we'll see how it works out. I don't know. Being in Southern California, we have so many universities and colleges within minutes. So it's hard to justify moving them out when they can drive.
That's true. That's true. I mean, my kids went to community college, so there was never any question of leaving. But I don't know, do kids mostly go away to college still now? I know they did when I was growing up.
Yeah, they do. It's actually, I don't know, and this is a whole other conversation for later, but the debt that kids go into just to move away, incredible. And that's the
thing that sticks in my head. Yeah.
Like I want her to move out, but I don't want it to be for $45,000 a year.
Right. Right. And when I think of, how much, I really wanted to move out and I wouldn't have done it any other way. But when I think about how much money I spent in rent and, furniture and travel expenses to different places that I was living, and whereas my husband just sat home and put his paycheck in the bank, I am not sure that it was really the wisest thing, Right. My parents really wanted me to live at home and save money, and I didn't care at that time. When I was in my 20s, I did not care. In my 30s, I cared retroactively.
Yeah. Well, and when I first started living and working in New York, I was the only one of my peers at my job who didn't live at home or with their family, some family member, because it was just too expensive. Yeah. And that's why I lived on all the free food and other giveaways and PR products that we got at work. And I babysat. I babysat, 2 or 3 times a week too.
Wow.
And that was how I got all my spending money, just to pay for my Subway and my food and stuff. So, I think, and I feel like that's how it's going to be for young adults now, and
really is
our kids. If a family can't make it without 2 incomes, then how can a young person who's just starting out in an entry-level job?
Yes, even if you have a degree for your profession and so you can get a higher level of job, it still pays crummy. And you have to work your way up to something that's going to pay well. I don't know how. That's why, thinking of the wider topic of, is there a particular time that kids need to leave home? I mean, I feel like it's unique to the kid.
Mm-hmm.
If you really want to, then you need to make that happen for them. But if they don't, I don't think you as a parent need to feel, if I am not kicking my kid out, I'm pampering them and I'm helicoptering them and it's a terrible thing. Little bird, go, you need to fly. I don't think there needs to be an artificial point for that, just because if nothing else, it's so hard to get along today.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, these kids are taking on huge amounts of debt with student loans, paybacks of $900, $1,000 a month. I mean,
yes.
So I think going back to, do I want my kids to move out? Yeah, if it makes sense financially. I don't want them to take on that huge burden if they can live at home. Like, I don't want them to take on the big financial burden if they can live here with us.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like with kids with special needs, a completely different situation than, I spent a lot on college. But with kids with special needs, I feel sometimes that the drive to get them living away from home is kind of like, well, there's not that much more other adult stuff they're going to be able to do. So darn it, we're going to get them out of their house and into a supported living situation somewhere. And I would rather have them living at home and finding a job and working whatever job they can find. I don't feel like that's the pinnacle of my ambition for them, is to get out of the house. I get really frustrated by that, because at some point in high school, a lot of the times the planning turns towards, well, let's make sure you can keep make your bed. So I'm very frustrated by that. And so I also don't buy into it from that point of view, that I have to, as a sign of independence for my kids with disabilities, they have to be able to live alone. They really don't. It's like, if my husband, who did not have any disabilities, could live home till he was 36, I don't see why his kids can't also. So,
right. Yeah, it's like you said, it's for different kinds of kids and different types of kids and different families. It really is whatever works. But
there are still people, my sister-in-law, who feel who I hope does not listen to this podcast. I won't pull quote that out. But even if she does, I think we've had conversations about it. I don't think you can set that as the bar for adulthood for anybody, at least right now.
Right.
No, because like you said, it's not about helicoptering and wanting them under your roof. It's practicality. I mean, whether it's for kids with special needs who would need to be in a supported environment anyway.
Yeah.
Or if it's kids who just can't afford it, it's not about trying to keep them under your wing.
Yeah. No, I mean, if they have a job, make them pay for their phone, make them pay, chip in for utilities, charge them rent if you want to, something very low, make them pay for the cable for their room. All that stuff is fine. Give them responsibilities. It's not like they're going to be loafing in the basement playing video games necessarily. But if they don't have a job, it's nice for them not to have expenses also.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
And they can do their part around the house. And
yes.
As long as they do it right.
That's true. Within reason, they can do their stuff. They can learn how to do things right.
That's just not being obnoxious.
Just say, your rent is to learn how to do it exactly like I like it and do it. They will all move out.
That's how you do it if you want them to go.
Well, maybe it's time to speedily move on to our speed round for this week. For our special Friday speed round, Amanda joins us, and this time we had another topic that exposes a generational divide. Let's listen to that now. So selfies are a big thing right now, especially with the young people, I guess. My husband thinks they're completely ridiculous and complains every time he sees anybody in our house taking one. I think that they're fine. I think that I especially like them when you're with people, because you can take a picture of of yourselves without having to get a passing stranger to do it. And the selfie camera works as a great mirror, which I have often used. We recently had a podcast on journaling, how bad we are at it. And I have fallen for yet another podcasting app that prompts me to take a selfie every morning. And that has made me realize how really awful selfies of me look. I have to like have a chin lift and get better lighting in my house to be able to take them. But in general, I don't so much care for the young people taking sexy pictures of themselves in front of mirrors and putting them on Facebook where they give me palpitations. But other than that, I think selfies are fine. Catherine, what do you think about selfies?
Yeah, I mean, my daughter, of being 14 years old, takes many selfies. But most of them end up on Snapchat instead of like on Instagram or any other outlet.
Where the old people can't see them, please.
Right. Her Instagram tends to be herself with other people.
Yeah.
And I probably should take more of them just as like a, I don't know, empowerment thing.
Well,
but
you find that angle to hold the phone.
Yeah,
you
gotta have the good angle.
I feel like my arms aren't quite long enough to do a good selfie. Like that's where I get stuck.
You need a selfie stick.
Oh, I can't even stand the idea of a selfie stick. I'm like, if you have to use a selfie stick, it's not a selfie anymore. It's a totally different thing.
Some of us need a little extra distance, you know?
I know. Well, so that's why you have to take selfie. You have to like go out with really tall friends with long arms and have selfies done. You take the selfie. I actually have a friend who has really, really freakishly long arms. I love him to death, but he's the best guy to take a selfie with because he can do like the long arm top down angle, so you're not like looking from your. It's just a whole.
Everybody needs a friend like that these days.
But you know what? I do. I don't take selfies all that often, but I prefer that than like if I want a picture of a new haircut or something, I'll say to my husband, hey, can you take this picture? And then I'll be like, oh, I hate that picture. Let me just do it myself, kind of thing. Because I can figure out, the chin out, all the things that you do when you get a little bit older and you don't look like you're 14, 20, whatever year old kid
Chins are a particular problem.
Yes, if you have more than one, it's an issue.
Snapchat needs to come up with a filter that gets rid of the chin, right? They have like all these other things that they can make you look like.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
They have Snapchat filters that put makeup on you. So
you'd think they could have one that could erase a chin, right? Yeah. Work on that. Although I guess we're not the Snapchat demo, so they probably don't care. Nicole, how do you feel about selfies?
I'm not a big selfie taker, just because I don't post a lot of pictures of myself. I don't think I do. I prefer that other people are the center of attention. But we've had a real ban on selfies in our house ever since my daughter in middle school. I think 3 or 4 times she got head lice. And my hairdresser was theorizing that it's from all the selfies that
How is that?
taking.
Because their heads are so close together.
Yeah.
That is a really interesting phenomenon, if that is true.
I did see an article.
I was just going to say, I think I read something about it. And it wasn't on WebMD, so I think it wasn't just you, Nicole, that read it.
So we're not big fans of selfies on your own, but not with other people.
What I can never figure out, and I don't know if anybody else can figure this out, is like, how do people do the selfie in the mirror thing? Do you know what I mean? Like, you see the people who take the picture of themselves and they have their phone in it, but they're in it, and I'm like, how do you do that without the? I can't figure it out.
They have the camera facing towards the mirror, right? Or did they take?
I don't know.
You see both them and the reflection in the mirror. I don't know. It's too confusing for us elderly sorts to figure out. It's a kid thing.
Well, and we need our selfie sticks as our canes, apparently. So
that's true.
That, by the way, when I was in Italy, at all of the major attractions, there were people selling selfie sticks.
Oh, I'll bet.
Armfuls of selfie sticks.
And did they have like the logo of the place you were on it? Because I remember.
Oh, it was just like, people who would run away if if a police officer was anywhere nearby.
You wanted like the Vatican selfie stick or the Forum selfie stick,
They're banned at Disney World, actually.
Really?
My daughter was just telling me that at Disneyland they've banned selfies.
Oh, yeah, which is Disney World too. That's like, you know what?
Yeah.
Good. I think it's because it's so crowded. I wonder if they're worried that people are going to get whacked with a selfie stick,
I guess. How long are they?
They can be pretty, like, I don't know, like 2
Some
feet.
of them are extendable.
Just how many friends do you have?
The thing about a selfie stick that always confuses me, and I know we can't talk too long about this, but the thing that confuses me is, like, when somebody's taking a picture of a group of people, you can see that and you don't walk through the picture.
Right.
Right? But when the selfie stick, like, where are you walking through the picture? Like, I mean, I don't know. Although,
I would just like one for home use.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not a bad idea. Or just, a tripod.
There you go.
There you go.
Oh, selfies.
Yeah. So now we want to bring you some of the things that we've read. Oh, that was happening when you read your script too carefully. That we've read or seen or used recently that we wanted to shout out and share with you. So, Terri, what do you have?
Well, I, for many years, used Weight Watchers successfully. And then more recently, I used it less successfully because they kept changing their plan. And more recently than that, it started to just be more than I could afford. So I stopped it. And as predicted, I immediately started gaining weight. So there's just something about that, having to write it down, that polices my snacking habits in a way that nothing else does. So I am trying something online called SparkPeople, which is a calorie counter. You enter your stuff, you find the calories for it, and they give you a recommended amount of calories a day. It's not anywhere near as sophisticated as the whole Weight Watchers app and website is, but it fulfills that requirement for me to write stuff down and see exactly what it is I'm eating and how bad it is for me. You can also get points for, put in your exercise and see how many calories you burned. And there's also tons of other bells and whistles on it, forums and goals and challenges and all. I'm not using any of that, but I'm writing down what I eat, seeing how many calories it is, writing down the exercise, writing down the amount of water I drink. And it's been really useful for that. And it is free. So if you are looking for some way to make yourself accountable for all those cookies and chips that we talked about on the speed round this week, all that junk food, SparkPeople is a good place to look. I believe it's sparkpeople.com, but I will have a link to it. And also there is a phone app.
Okay.
Poor man's Weight Watchers.
How about you, Nicole? You have a food-related
Sticking to the food theme.
Because I do too, which is funny.
We didn't coordinate this.
No.
When you don't want to keep track of what you're eating and you're feeling hungry and don't feel like standing in line for your food, I've been discovering all these restaurants that have online ordering that you can order ahead of time on an app and then just go pick up in like 20 minutes and then you can skip the line. So most recently,
I did that on Starbucks. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. And then Kathy will have a Starbucks moment.
Last week was Jersey Mike's of all places. Do you guys have that out east?
Wow. Seems like we should.
Yeah.
It's a sub shop.
I've seen it before. I think we do have one fairly close to us.
But the point being is that you no longer have to stand in line. You can just put all of your order on the app and then it says, come pick it up in 20 minutes. And then you just drive down and pick it up. And yeah, I love it. So we use Panera a lot too. And I noticed that CVS is starting to get into that as well. You can order all of your items and then they'll bring it to you in the parking lot.
Oh my God.
But I'll stick with the food this week. That's my recommendation.
Nice.
Get yourself an app if you don't want to stand in line.
And I have to say, Catherine was mentioning Starbucks. I reactivated my Starbucks app and put some money on it and did the order ahead for the first time. And oh my gosh, is that the most wonderful thing? I go every week when my daughter has an appointment near a Starbucks, and I would have to stand in line with all the other people getting coffee on a Saturday morning. And the last time I did it in the car as we were going there, and I walked in and there was my coffee and I picked it up and sat down.
Nice.
Wonderful.
It's wonderful, except for if you spill it when you're picking it up, because I did that with a venti.
Don't do that.
I picked it up from the counter, and 20 ounces of hot tea.
Oh my gosh. Check that lid first, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
that was
gosh.
embarrassing.
Did they give it to you for free? Or did you have to buy
Yeah,
another one?
no, they made me another one. It was very nice of them.
And bought you a new outfit for what you spilled on?
No, I didn't spill on myself. I spilled all over their counter and their floor.
Well, I think the last one time I was there, the barista actually spilled it in handing it to me. The top popped off. So perhaps they've gone to some cheap place for tops lately, and they're not gripping.
It's not my fault at all. Well, the thing I was gonna mention is also food related, and I hesitate to bring this up because it's like a blogging cliche right now, but because if you read blogs, you will see reviews or discussions of Blue Apron, which is a meal service, like meal in a box kind of thing. But my husband actually got a free one from a friend, and so he just ordered it, and ever since then we've been getting it. And so you get a box in the mail, and it contains all the ingredients for 2 meals. And you still have to make it, you still have to cook it, but there's no planning or shopping. And
love that.
Meal planning is like a real problem for me, a real big problem. So this, 2 days out of the week, you're covered. And you can get a family plan, I guess. Ours is supposed to be, feed a family of 4, and it does. And I mean, I still find that it takes, a good 45 minutes or more to make the meal. You still have to chop up everything and cook it. But like I said, the planning is a real problem for me. So this takes that out of the picture, which has been very helpful.
Nice.
So,
Hey, well, I'm checking that out right away.
Do you have to integrate your farm vegetables into that?
Well, yeah. I mean, the problem is we also have the
boxes of food at your house.
I know. Tell me about it. We get I also get my milk delivered. So, but surprisingly, we still go to the grocery store all the time. Yeah. What I tend to do is, a lot of times the Blue Apron, it always has a vegetable included, and often it's something that I also have from the farm. So then I just add another one. I just, like, if it calls for a zucchini, I'll just use 2 zucchinis, or if it calls for tomato, I'll use an extra tomato, just something to make it a little more robust and to use up some of our vegetables. Or I can, add them on the side or use them on the other days when I don't have the Blue Apron.
Yeah. So. We got a free box of something similar to that, Hello Fresh. It's the same sort of thing where they send you all the ingredients and the recipes. And it was fun. It was neat having all the stuff there and not having to go shopping for it. Yeah. And make something that we might not be so adventurous to make under ordinary circumstances.
Right. And you can save the recipe, obviously, like it comes printed, and then you could conceivably make it again and buy your own stuff. Or just order it from Panera.
Yes, exactly. I support that. Can you have like Panera send you a box every so often?
Wouldn't that be nice?
Put these in your freezer and microwave them as follows.
I think that's what Schwann's is for.
I like Panera salads. I don't suppose they would hold up all that well.
No, probably not.
Well, next up this week is our interview of the week, and I spoke with Robert Rummel-Hudson about back to school. Rob joins us once a month to talk about parenting and special needs, and let's hear what he had to say about back to school this year. So today was the actual first day back to school for your daughter, right?
It was. She's been in summer band for the past few weeks, so it's sort of like a soft launch.
That's right.
That's the technical term. But, yeah, today was day 1 of actual school. So,
Wow.
and I've been getting encouraging texts all day.
Good.
So
Well,
I think
that's nice. Texting is such a great thing. I wish it had been more of a thing when my kids are in school, because I would have just been one of those annoying parents who text my kids all through the day. Everything okay?
And I mean, it's nice because it's not quite so helicoptery as it could be. You know, I'm not Skyping her in the middle of class. I'm not a monster. But
the phone doesn't ring and disturb the class.
Exactly.
Gentle.
Are you doing okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Leave me alone. And for her, because she's using her iPad for just everything, I mean, she uses it for communication. She's using it in class. Apparently, she's using it to play games, but I'm not going to push that.
We won't judge.
Push that too hard yet. So yeah, it's nice to be able to actually, her being nervous in the morning. It's nice for me to be able to say, if you get overwhelmed, just send me a text and we'll talk about it. And usually, texting we can kind of get her back on track. But today she's complaining because her campus is huge. The school that she goes to is I think it's either the second largest high school in the state, or it's in the top 3. All 3 are in my town, by the way. And it's insane because it's only 2 grade levels. It's only 11th and 12th.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a monster. And so it's a little bit like maybe like a junior college campus. It doesn't feel like a high school campus at all. She's going from building A to building B to building B2 back to A, and which is the day in building D for band. And it's unbelievable. We walked her schedule last week with her, and she did fine, but I was exhausted. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
As if I'm in the same shape now that I was then.
Right.
I don't know how these kids do it. Well, they're not 48 years old. I think
that's helpful.
I think it's part of it. So it's good. I mean, it's good for her because this is giving her sort of a peek at, I don't know, what a bigger world might look like if you ever did get the opportunity to go like to a junior college or whatever kind of situation that she ends up in.
Yeah.
So it feels like a good day so far, and she had a very good omen this morning.
Yeah.
We are Pokemon Go players, as apparently is most of the Western world now.
Apparently.
And so if whoever's listening, if they are Pokemon Go players, they will appreciate the miraculous nature of the fact of the appearance of a Pikachu. Pikachu. Everyone knows who Pikachu is.
Yeah.
Go to like sub-Saharan Africa and some guy out walking the Serengeti or wherever, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Pikachu, he's awesome." It was a Pikachu right outside our door.
Wow.
So I consider that a good omen, and I got a picture of her because the game will actually superimpose the characters and pictures. So she went to school with it looking like a Pikachu was jumping into her bag, and I thought, all right, we're going to take that as an omen.
Absolutely.
And not just an indication that perhaps we play this game.
Take every omen you can get,
It's a good one. And when she texted me, I was like, is Pikachu still in your bag? And she was like, yeah. So.
Aw, that's great. So how did band camp go?
Band camp was fantastic. It's funny because her first 2 years of high school at the other school, and God, our system is weird. 9th and 10th at one school, and then 11th and 12th at senior high school. So her 2 years at regular old high school, she fell into the cracks quite a few times. I mean, she had to kind of, it was hit and miss a lot. And she thought about quitting a few times. And a lot of it was just the fact that she was getting just as little in the way of accommodations as possible. It was very sink or swim.
Yeah.
Her new school, they seem very committed to helping her out. I mean, she's I take her up to rehearsals, and kids will be walking by and they're like, "Hey, Skylar, hey, what's up, Skylar? Do you need help?" And kids are always helping her out. And the band directors one of the assistant band directors has just sort of taken her under his wing, and it's been really, really nice. And the difference that makes in her anxiety level is so insane, and it's such a small thing. I mean, they are literally spending a little bit of extra time just connecting with her to make sure she understands what's going on, helping her with her music, helping her put on their uniforms, which are unbelievably complex. I helped her the first time, and I thought, I feel like we're going on the Mars mission here. I'm looking for the oxygen helmet that goes with it. It's just insane.
Yeah, I remember when my daughter was in band, and there were so many things that had to go through and over and under and around, and if any of them had to like use the restroom during the game, I kind of wondered how that could ever possibly happen, because it seemed to be a 2-person operation getting them into it.
Oh yeah, and the uniform has all these different pieces so that if you take off the breastplate, they actually have a thing called a breastplate
Yes.
or breast piece. There's a cape, and the cape can be inverted, and it's just all this. Yeah. They're like Transformers. They're going to turn. I'm a robot. I'm a helicopter. I'm a band person. So it's she's getting help. People are reaching out to her and helping her, and it's such a small thing, but it's making a huge difference. She was not nearly as nervous as I expected her to be this morning. And I think it's because she's had a positive experience with band. Yeah. And I'm not so, at one time I was, but I'm not so band geeky now that I'm like, school is band and band is school, and that's the only thing that matters. I was in high school. I didn't care about anything else but band. But, I've grown up a little bit since then. But the fact that she has this one place that she really feels like she belongs and she's accomplished something, it makes such a huge difference. It gives her like this little core. And that core used to be her special education courses. And that may still be the case. I mean, she's, in her first day of school. I have no idea what this year is going to be like. Yeah. Could be great. Could be tragic. This could be, a Mad Max hellscape waiting for us for years. I don't know. But I have a pretty good feeling about it so far. But the fact that she can have a core that's outside of the special education bubble, and maybe a little bit more out into the world, that makes me feel a little bit better. Because she's 16. She's, she's that bubble is going to go away regardless. Right. So if she can transition a little bit with a neurotypical crowd and develop more skills as far as how to navigate that crowd, I think it's a positive thing.
It's generally kind of a good test crowd, because they're more likely to be nice if you're part of if you're part of their, not 100% as much as I would have liked that to be true, but at least it's better than just going into the general pool of neurotypicality with no familiar faces. You at least you're part of something with those people, and so they're, one would hope, more accepting.
Yeah, and she's a percussionist, so she's kind of with that crowd. Yeah. And it's kind of a punky crowd. I went to watch one of they had like an early run through performance, and their sleeves are rolled up, and some of them have on like these, and Skylar's there, and she's got a bandana on her head, and just looks like I'm like, you need a cigarette. I'm your father, and I'm not supposed to say that, but this look doesn't work without a cigarette hanging off your lip. So she's kind of with this punky crowd, but I'll take that.
That's cool. Yeah.
The first day of school, and I guess today was the first day of school for a lot of people, at least in Texas. Because there's nothing I love more than going on Facebook and seeing all the back to school, kids in their new clothes and the looks of happy terror on their face. First day of whatever. I'm a sucker for that. I really am. Back to school pictures to me are like cat videos for some people, I think, because I'm just like, oh my God. And so today, it was a little weird putting her on the bus because it's her junior year of high school, and that's impossible because she's a baby. That's right. She's a toddler. How can a toddler be a junior in high school? I can't cope with that. What does that say about me and how old I am? So it's tough, but at the same time, there's this sense of accomplishment that she's continuing to kind of soldier on and do this, and I don't know, it does my heart good. And when I see everyone else putting their kids on getting, all dressed up or putting them on the bus, I don't know. It gives me this sense, and maybe it's a false sense, but it gives me this sense of a kind of commonality and a kind of community. We're all kind of doing the same thing.
That's right.
And then inevitably at some point in the day, someone will come on and complain and, I'm getting tired of seeing kids going back to school. And I always think, what what happened to you?
Get back under your bridge.
What died inside your soul? That's the thing that you're going to complain. But I haven't seen it yet today. So
Well, there's going to be a rolling wave of those pictures between now and September, because I know our school district starts like after Labor Day. So they shouldn't be complaining about it now.
yeah, it's early. Pace yourself. Pace yourself, internet grouches.
Yeah.
It's like complaining about the Olympics on day one. You got weeks of this.
That's right. Has the school been good with getting everything together that was supposed to be there for her? I remember I have nobody going back to school now. Yay! But used to always be that my weeks or months before school started, we're just calling the special ed office every day and saying, you got that thing? You promise you got that thing? You really have it? Are you sure? And then they never did. But has that been a problem for you this year?
It actually... Yeah, it's funny to say this because I'm so positive about our school, but oh my God, they're so disorganized. And I kind of like it. It's kind of endearing. You know, it's not if they were too. You know, sometimes if the school is too much on their game, you start to feel like it's like the machine.
I've never actually had that experience, but I'll take your word for it.
It's like you're a little bit too because at some point I'm going to need for them to be forgiving of me.
That's true.
A dumbass about something. So
I get that.
I mean, they've been a little disorganized, but our persistence as notorious red flag parents, we've stepped up with the irritating emails. And
good.
Polite, but, yes.
Consistent,
persistent, constant. We got her bus schedule, I think, Friday.
That's familiar.
we found out the room number for a couple of her classes on the day that we were doing the walkthrough.
Man. Yeah, that's familiar.
I will take that. They do seem very personally invested in her in a way that's is refreshing.
Great. Yes.
Her middle school was like that. She had a special ed director who was very personally committed to Skylar.
Uh-huh.
And then her first, the first high school, I don't know what to call it, the practice high school, I guess. They were very, this is how we do things, and they had like their procedures. And of course, Skylar is chaos. She's chaos with purple hair now. And she's the human embodiment of this isn't going to be what you think it's going to be.
Right.
And the best teachers and the best, therapists and anyone who's dealt with her, who's had the most success, they've done so because they've been kind of light on their feet and they've been, they've been ready for the hurricane. They've braced themselves. So this new group feels very fleet of foot, which is what it will require.
Yes. Well, that is very encouraging.
Yeah, and, I know. I usually come on here and I'm like, everything's terrible.
We won't need to turn off all the lights and sit in a dark room with a bottle of something after this podcast. Excellent.
Well, no. By the next podcast, we'll have had a month of everything going off the rails. So
there you go.
We'll be back on track. Oh yeah, here's what sucked this month.
Something to look forward to. But let's quit while we're ahead now.
Exactly.
Thanks so much for talking to me, and we'll check in with you next month.
Thank you. This is a lot of fun as always.
Yes.
And now for our final segment today, we're going to do a little shameless self-promotion and direct you to some of the things on our sites that we think you should take a look at. Terri, what have you got for us this week?
Well, between the presidential election and certain events that have transpired at the Rio Olympics, there's been a lot of talk in social media about lying and a lot of very black and white thoughts about lying and the lying liars who tell lies. And it has made me realize once again that parents of kids with special needs sometimes have different perspectives on just what constitutes lying and how bad it is, and some reasons why people might have different interpretations of the truth that are legitimate. Not that these other things were, but that in my everyday life, things are way more complicated than black and white. So I have a couple of posts on my blog, Mothers with Attitude, about that topic and things that your kids may be experiencing that would cause them to have a looser relationship with the truth than you might like. So I will have links up to those.
Great. Thank you. Catherine, what do you have?
I recently updated a book list on verywell.com. It's about teaching sportsmanship with books, mostly for younger kids, mostly picture books. There's some early readers and kind of young, what do you call, like early chapter books too. But I recently put some new things on there, so I think you should check it out.
Good. Thank you.
Good.
And I'm just going to promote sorry, that would be my dog. Maybe some dog training services. I'm going to promote the fact that myself and a couple of my colleagues have put in a proposal to present a session at South by Southwest EDU in Texas in March. And part of that process is having people vote for our session. So if people are interested and want to hear or sort of raise awareness, help us raise awareness for inclusive education, they can go to the link and give us a thumbs up and vote for our session.
Great.
Nice.
Okay, so that's it for this week's episode of Parenting Roundabout. We hope you enjoyed it and that you'll join us every week. You can listen to podcast episodes on parentingroundabout.com, or you can download it from iTunes. Please subscribe so you get all of our podcasts and mini podcasts. And we haven't asked lately, but you should give us a review also.
Yes, please.
On iTunes. Throw us some stars or a few words about how awesome we are, because that will help other people find us.
And also make us feel good.
It will definitely make us feel good. So you can also follow us on Twitter, where I am at About Family Fit. Terri is at Mamatude. Nicole is at Nicole Eridix. And Amanda, we miss you, Amanda, is at Amanda Morin. You can follow the podcast on Twitter. That's Roundabout Chat. And you can look for us on Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, YouTube, and Instagram. But best of all, stop by our blog at parentingroundabout.com to read recaps, find links on all the stories we mentioned, and attempt to talk back in the comments. Thank you to John Morin for producing the podcast and providing our in and out music. And I wish everyone a great week.